Train the muscles, not the joints.
All right, guys. So welcome back to another live workout. So due to popular demand, I mean, a few of you guys said that you enjoyed the whole live workout thing. So I thought to myself, I said, okay, well, I'll do more of them. So anyway, today I'm going to be doing some chest, and I already noticed that I have the rack set up a little bit too high. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of setup here just to lower the bar down. But the thing is that a lot of times you have your favorite exercises that you'll stick to. Like I like bench press a lot, and I like my typical dumbbell flat press to start usually with my workouts. But sometimes you'll notice that you'll benefit from going through phases where you use a different exercise. And by doing so, sometimes you make shocking sort of discoveries, or maybe you don't make a discovery, but sometimes you give certain areas a rest, a much needed rest in some cases, while working other areas that weren't necessarily pushed that hard. So it's almost like a slash recuperation slash extra pumpy and lumpy look, because you're actually working muscles that you didn't even know you had. So I like the floor press for this reason. You can do dumbbell floor presses. And if I can do so without screwing up my microphone here, you know, because putting the dumbbells in a lap and stuff, it's really awkward with a mic and stuff. So I'm trying to talk to you guys and try to find the middle ground here with being mic'd up and whatever. But if you do the floor presses properly, like sometimes you can prop them up on pillows, or you just basically put them on your lap and then lean back or whatever. Floor presses can be great with dumbbells as well. So those of you guys that don't have a rack at home, or you don't have a power rack, or you don't have a barbell bench or whatever, don't despair. If you have dumbbells, you can do flat presses or flat floor presses with dumbbells, and it works really well. I actually like it. You know, one could argue, and I'm not saying this is true or not, but one could argue, technically speaking, that doing floor presses might be more effective for a lot of people to build a bigger chest. So this is why the obsession with some of the foundational movements can be good places to start, but not necessarily the best place for everybody. Some people find that when that shoulder starts to go back behind, it puts so much stress on the ball and socket that it's not necessarily the best way to hit your chest more. It might be the best way to stretch out your delts and maybe tweak some shoulder sort of issues, but it's not necessarily always the best way to gain muscle, or the best way for you, right? So that's why I find that I was one of the top natural bodybuilders in the world. I was top 10% for sure. I just had a fight with a guy in the comments again, because guys always think that shit, you know, if you look better than a drug guy, then you must not be natural, you must be lying or whatever. Oh, here's another Liver King guy or whatever, right? But the bottom line is the top 10% in natural bodybuilders, the top 10%, they will crush, I'm telling you, crush the normal drug guys in the gym. Like the guys that are like hobby kind of bodybuilders that are cheating, you know, doing some performance enhancing drugs and stuff. On stage, a lot of those guys show up and they don't look great. A lot of them will look out of balance, or they look like they retain too much water, or they have really large body parts in one area, but there's no symmetry, you know? So it's a different type of look. So a lot of times natural bodybuilders, the top ones, they destroy those lower echelon type recreational, performance enhanced kind of guys, right? So this is why there's so many fights in the comments about, oh, is this guy natural, that guy natural? The reason why is because these guys are looking at guys in the gym and seeing, oh, well, I know this guy that's on drugs, and this natural guy looks better than him. Well, the truth is the top natural guys will always look better than the bottom drug user guys, right? It's just one of those things, especially when natural bodybuilding takes time. And that's another subject I'm going to get on today. I want you to really kind of stay tuned to this whole thing. Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to talk to you a lot about some of the, let's just say pitfalls that people make in this day and age, because like I said, everybody wants instant gratification. And if you're a natural bodybuilder, this isn't an instant gratification path. And I've noticed that specifically when it comes down to diet and workout programs, and the panic that goes through people when they don't get instantaneous results, because they've been falsely taught that results come right away, and they don't. They take years. So anyway, I'm gonna tell you some really interesting stories. Just let me set up here and get this all going. That's why I do like having a squat rack with numbers on it. I have numbers on the rack up here. So that really helps with just memorizing sometimes. Sometimes memorizing exactly what setting you want for certain types of lifts and stuff. So I got it all memorized for bench pressing and everything. So it's pretty good. I like that. So you got wires hanging out like some sort of old man balls or something. This is the annoying part about micing yourself up. I don't know why Sennheiser made the mics with wires that are like 10 feet tall. Like, what are they made for? 12-foot tall giants or what? I don't know what they were thinking. Anyway, so here we go. I'm gonna do some flat press just for a set here, just to warm up. And then I'll move into some sort of pump weights. I'm not necessarily looking to go heavy today. I actually, funny enough, just so you know, I did this yesterday too, just for fun, right before my squat workout. So it was actually, sometimes you just enjoy movements and then you just, maybe do a few days in a row. It feels pretty good. Tell, because the shoulders are in a different position, because the floor is flat, right? They're not hanging over the sides of the bench. It does change the dynamics. I'm telling you, people underestimate this. They look at range of motion, but they don't look at shoulder positioning as something different and a way to, stress certain muscles over others. So you might find floor presses as a better movement overall for chest development, as much as there is the worship of the flat bench. And I'm just putting it out there because the difference between the elite natural bodybuilder or the elite athlete really is the one who embraces his own nature. And when you embrace your own nature, then you start to find that groove that really works. Now, of course, there are general principles that are always accurate for most people, like strength training is not an endurance sport, yada, yada, like you can't run marathons and become Mr. Olympia, that kind of thing. But I will definitely say that there are deviations that people underestimate, such as my squat form, right? I mean, every time I squat, if I see it on video, I'm like, doesn't look pretty like going down deep. But it's fucking powerful. You know what I mean? Like I can see that my ass is really working and my hamstrings and, I can see that I'm pushing weight and challenging the body. And that's what's important, is challenging the body and stressing the muscles in the process. It's not about the proper form according to somebody else's body dimensions. And I've talked about this a million times. I know you're probably thinking this guy's just fucking repeating himself, but that's the truth. It's just absolutely the truth. So yeah, the truth bears repeating because I'm still getting the same type of comments in my videos where people just don't understand, right? They're like, I don't get it. You're not moving exactly like the 6'9" bodybuilder I know in some other country somewhere. I'm like, yeah, well, that's because my body's not 6'9". I don't have the same joint ratios. And guess what? I got the results to prove it. So results are king. Whatever gives you the results is the truth. So yeah, I just love floor presses lately. I don't know. It's funny, you just get these movements you just love. So another thing I want to share with you before I even start my first set here is, so I'm getting kind of a shoulder stretch here. This is another thing you can do for a front delt stretch, is just this. Just leaning back, you see this? Yeah. So the other thing I want to say is that a lot of people panic when it comes down to their diet. And remember, I told you guys, especially you guys that tuned in on Patreon, on the podcast, what I was doing with my diet, right? All the details. And basically what people don't realize is that there are certain systems, like metabolic systems in the body, and it seems like it takes time for them to activate. So it's almost like one system comes online, then another system, and eventually all the systems align for greater results. So I noticed just the last couple of days, I got all of a sudden leaner without changing my diet or my training at all. It was almost like my body finally found a way to efficiently utilize my diet. Now, it's not that I was limiting myself. I decided specifically not to limit my food. I just said I'm going to choose the right foods, and bodybuilding is a nourishment sport, not a dieting sport, as much as people have misunderstood that whole concept. And what's the point of being lean and flat for a couple days when you can't maintain it all the time? So I'm trying to look for what I can maintain all the time. So to get as lean as I can at a maintainable body composition, like so I can maintain it. The diet I can maintain, and I feel better, I feel more nourished, I feel like my muscles are filled up, right? So I'm not looking for competition 4% body fat level here, but what I am looking for is better quality of life for training and existence, right? So what is the ideal thing? So what happened was when I first started using this diet, within the first 3 weeks, I lost a little bit of weight, like a little bit of fat. I was getting more pumpy and lumpy, it felt good, but then it seemed like I hit a plateau. Now, what most people do in that case is that they usually have some sort of timeline where they have to be down to a certain percent of body fat. So then they panic, and then they basically start dropping carbohydrates, they start dropping fats, and then dropping muscle in the process, right? But what I did was I said, I'm going to decide the very foundation of my entire being is going to be nourishment of the body. I'm not going to try to panic just to look better for YouTube and whatever. I'm going to just keep on nourishing and trust the process. Well, fast forward 4 weeks later, and all of a sudden my body, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what the hell happened? It's like I dropped extra pounds of weight. Like all of a sudden my abs came out a little bit more and stuff. So I could actually see it visibly in the mirror. So the thing is that it's a process of getting your mitochondria and your cells to work, and it takes time for them to start learning how to utilize your nutrition. And I've seen this with some of my clients. I had them on lower fat diets, 10-20% of their diet, and then carbs and protein every meal. And they'd be doing this and they drop a little bit of weight at first, and then it's almost like the body would resist and say, okay, are you still gonna nourish me? Are you still gonna nourish me? And if you're gonna keep nourishing me, then I'm going to trust that I can drop the fat. So it's almost like you need to give your body time to trust that you're feeding it, you're stabilizing that blood sugar, and you're giving it what it needs as it needs it, and then the body feels safer in letting go of some of that fat, because the fat is a safety mechanism, right? It's saying, I want to store this because I don't know when you're going to eat again or if you're going to starve me again, right? So this is a totally different paradigm, but it's better for you because you can maintain it. And that's why I don't agree so much with intermittent fasting, especially for bodybuilders or athletes. Some people out there, they swear by it, but I would say if you're super overweight and fat and you can't get any weight loss, well, okay, try it, or whatever. It might be a good thing for you. But for an athlete that wants to perform, I would say no. So yeah, that's definitely one of those exercises that I get a good pump from. I mean, I did do a chest 3 days in a row now, so give me a break, right? Because I did chest yesterday with the floor presses, and then I did chest the day before. So that's why I'm sticking to just some lighter weight today and just pumping up, right? So the odd time I'll train body parts a few days in a row, and then I'll take a break, right? But another thing I'm going to talk to you about anyway is when you're getting burned out, you will feel it. And some guys ask me these questions, right? But a lot of the questions have to do with the lack of awareness. So people will say, oh, how do you know? How do you know this? How do you know that? Well, sometimes you don't know, but a lot of times your body will give you signs. So for a while there, I was pushing my volume a little bit and seeing where that wall is, and I was feeling really good. I was having great workouts, and then what happened, all of a sudden it was like my body all of a sudden lost the pump. It lost that kind of springy feel when I was in the gym, and I was eating the same. So I thought to myself, maybe I need a day off. So I took a day off, and then I came back and I started with lower volume, right? 3 to 5 sets per body part, maybe 6 sets, right? Not doing 10 or whatever. And after about 3 or 4 days, wham, my body came back online and started to feel pumped up again. So you have to always work with what is happening before you instead of just blindly following a template and saying, oh, this guy said every 3 days I got to take a day off or whatever. These things are only for the blind people, right? If you're blind and your awareness is shut down, you will always be making decisions based on some template, but it's based on a disassociation from the physical. You want to deepen your connection to what's happening in the body and really pay attention and observe. And if you're noticing something and then you respond to it and try out something, maybe you need a day off, maybe you need 2 days off, maybe you need to not take any time off at all, but maybe you need to actually eat. Maybe you skipped a couple meals and that's what's happening, or maybe your sleep is off. You see all these factors you have to watch, and at some point, the language of these forms of stimulus will present itself to you, right? Like the language of the body will present itself, so that way you can start to understand when you're not doing something right for you or not. Which is why a lot of times people say to me, they say, Jason, you got to squat lower, you got to do this and that. It's like, really? Like in that exact instant, I could feel it's off at the knees. My knees feel off and everything feels bad. The stress leaves my legs. And what's the point of that? What's the point? I already can feel and experience the injury coming. Why would I do that, right? But blind people always have fanatical thinking. People who are ignorant, they don't understand. So they just make unrealistic expectations on everybody. This is kind of weird making a video laying down like this. This is funny. It's like, okay, here we go. Oh, that's good. Yeah, you get a different feel from squeezing at the top too, a little bit, because once again, the shoulder positioning is different. So yeah, let's see, the microphone's still going here. Okay. So, change the angle a bit here. So yeah, once you learn how to read the stimulus, that's when you start to be able to adjust things like a maestro, right? Like chefs, right? A chef doesn't blindly follow recipes, right? That's only the way they start. But how they start to learn how to use their own recipes or create their own recipes is that they get an understanding of flavors, texture, spice, right? And they know how heat affects the outcome of the meal. And basically what you're doing is you're making yourself, like you're a meal, and the ingredients and the stimulation, right? Because an oven is a form of stimulation, right? You're combining these elements in the perfect recipe for you to build more muscle and have more vitality. So that's something to remember. So yeah, follow the templates for sure. And there are some foundational things that I've talked about, like having enough protein and having enough glycogen in the muscle and enough essential fats. You don't want to be deficient in anything as you train, but at the same time, you're going to notice that when you have too much or too little of something, or stimulus or stimulation or training, then you don't necessarily get the same result, right? So you have to kind of find that sweet spot. Sometimes I like to go a little narrower on flat bench lately. Keep the elbows in, I get a better squeeze on the chest and a little bit better of a stretch. Even though my elbows are tucked more, funny enough. So yeah, sometimes, the whole flared elbows thing blindly, no matter what, not necessarily the right thing. Sometimes it's good for something different, but it's not always good, right? So this is the other thing. You'll change these variables as you see fit, right? I feel like I'm laying on a ghost. Got the sheet on the floor here because no matter how many times I sweep the floor, it gets dirty. So gotta put a sheet down. But yeah, it's basically a ghost I killed in the woods. Just flatten that guy and then that's it, and then use him for a piece of training equipment. Yeah. So I'll do a couple more sets of this. And then maybe just a couple sets of flat dumbbells. I don't feel like I need to do a big chest workout today. I can feel that everything's pretty destroyed already, so that's why I'm staying light and just playing around and pumping and talking to you guys, right? Well, those reps have come down quite a bit since the first set, huh? Okay, that's good. Now I'm gonna go to some bench. That's good for those. I'll go to some flat dumbbell. So one of the differences between what I do now as opposed to what I would have done as a young guy is I'll do a certain amount of sets, right, from the floor presses as you saw. And then I'm gonna go to dumbbells. Now, this is another mistake, and I'm sure most of you guys are pretty mature here, so you probably don't make this mistake, but what I would do is, like, no matter what, if I had 140s or 130s, like those dumbbells are going up, right? Regardless of how fatigued I am. But the problem is that's when you tweak shit and stuff and you start to, learn from your mistakes the hard way. So when I'm a little bit fatigued like this, I'll go to the 100s. That's all I have anyway, so I'm kind of blessed that way. But I do have some 120s coming. But if I had the 120s, after doing 4 or 5 sets of bench, if I felt fatigued, there's no way I'm doing the 120s, At that point, now the dumbbell press isn't a strength movement, it's a finishing movement in some way, or at least a stimulation, but not a destruction, right? So this is stuff you just learn as you go. But in the end, it always is about getting the ego out of it as much as possible. So that's the other thing. Some people look at how I lift and then they say, I'm ego lifting. And I'm gonna say, no, I'm lifting efficiently to stimulate certain parts of my body. But it's not to do with the ego. It has nothing to do with the ego, actually. Like one guy thought when I was doing bent over rows at 225 that was ego lifting. And I have video footage of me doing bent over rows with 405, right? And I was doing the 405 just to experiment with doing overloading of the body, regardless of what the form looked like, right? And it was working. It was actually doing some good stimulation. But 225, if I can do 405 and I'm doing 225 for certain reps, I'm definitely not ego lifting. I'm just doing the weight the way that feels correct for my stimulation of the back. So I wish a lot of these beta male kind of insecure dudes would just shut up and just listen for just a moment. And then from there, they might understand the motive of why people are doing things without making assumptions. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in this like 5 to 10 second age where people just look at your face and they're like, I already know what that guy's about because I see his face. So, and then they just make a judgment, but they don't look at what the content is of the person saying or what they're saying or why they're saying it. Like, where are they coming from, right? So, yeah, that's my frustration moment about YouTube. So that's really what I gotta say. So anyway, here we are. I'm doing a couple sets of this and I'm gonna move on to something else.
Camera angle here, yeah. Different camera angle. Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, as you can see, this is Jason reporting, right from Jason Gallant's gym in Harrison Hot Springs. So yeah, I'm getting a good workout, good pump. Talking in between sets is definitely a distraction. I mean, my workouts usually don't take this long, as you know. I mean, well, maybe this long, but not as long as after I get through the next couple body parts. But the whole point of these videos is just to give some different tips and tricks as I'm training. So you get kind of a combination of everything. So if you're watching this stuff as you're working out or if you're at work, getting away with watching YouTube videos, you got something that's kind of a little bit more long-term content or long length in order to get you through the day. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so hopefully I'm in the shot right now. I'm guessing. That's the other challenge of making live content, right? So yeah, that felt good though. When I'm doing the dumbbell press, it felt good, especially after pre-exhausting. So this is another thing you can, another tip. This is just genius, right? This is just genius. Another tip is, say you find that floor presses really isolate your chest. Like you get a lot of good squeezing contractions. It's a good constant tension movement, like whatever, right? Maybe you have a bum shoulder or a shoulder misalignment, and you notice with floor presses, it's not accentuated so badly where you're able to push the chest into deeper levels of failure. Well, I'd say it's good to start with that movement once in a while, get a super pump, and then after do a stretching type movement such as bench on a bench, right? Like barbell bench or dumbbell or flies, right? And then from there, you're going to get an increased benefit because you've already pre-exhausted the chest. So it's the same reason why a lot of the pro bodybuilders, they'll do leg extensions or leg curls before they even squat, because they're looking to make sure that those muscles are the ones that hit failure, but not the lower back or the hips and stuff, right? They're not powerlifters. They're looking to really make sure the legs hit failure, and they may use the squat, but because the squat is such a lower back dominant exercise, they want to make sure that the quads and the hamstrings are really hitting failure first. So if leg extensions and hamstring curls work for you, that's another thing you can do. Me, I find leg extensions, I have to do them super light if I do have access to them. Otherwise, they just irritate my knees, right? So, but that's me. That's just the way my body is. So it doesn't mean your body functions that way. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that. So yeah, today I'm actually accidentally, that's another reason why you want to switch it up, right? I'm accidentally discovering that I got a wicked pump in my chest right away. And now when I'm doing dumbbell presses, I'm getting a really neat kind of feeling, squeeze, kind of pumpy, mumpy feeling, right? So I'll do one more. See, this is how I feel myself through things, right? I feel like I got one more, I can do one more, and then on to some back. So that's, you're getting the play-by-play here, the play-by-play of natural gland bodybuilding. Now I'm gonna get a drink of coffee here. So yeah, I'll do some pull-ups after this. I don't really like the way they look on camera. I can never get the right angle and stuff because the way my squat rack is, and honestly, the way I do pull-ups, it looks stupid because I lean back, right? I'm not trying to go and bring my chin over the bar. It's a big mistake most beginners and some intermediates make, is that they just look at their relationship with the bar and where is the bar, and that dictates the range of motion. It's not that. It's more about the rotation around the joint, the retraction of the shoulder blades, which plays a much bigger role than people realize in back training. A lot of people think that it's just all like rotation around the joint, right? That's all lats. It's not. It's more the retraction of the spine and some rotation around the shoulder. But in my experience and with my back development, what led to it was that I realized that the rotation around the shoulder joint wasn't king when it came down to activating back. So whether people want to believe it or not, I don't care. But ultimately, I'm trying to teach you the truth here. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just in rejection of it. They just don't, they don't want to realize that there was something here I did right that created back development. And again, I'm never saying that you have to do it exactly the same way as me, but I'm just saying include this aspect of it in some way. It's like a spice in your recipe, and you're going to notice that something additional will happen in your back development because of it.